Welcome to the London Property Podcast, your go-to source for navigating the complex and ever-changing London real estate market. Our digital marketplace provides informative and educational content from industry leaders through podcasts and videos. We cover various aspects of the real estate experience, including buying and selling, finance, law, tax, construction, design, and more. Join us as we delve into the latest trends and developments in the market and gain valuable insights from our panel of experts.
Hello and welcome to London Property. I'm your host Farnaz Fazaipour, and today we're delighted to welcome to the show Juliet Mayhew, who is starring on the Real Housewives of London. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So are you noticing that families are being split up? So what we're looking for is a real life story where the husbands had to go because of the new changes, but the family and the wives have stayed.
Yeah, that is very real existence at the moment. I've got many friends whose husband has perhaps moved to Dubai, Cyprus, Milan, a lot of these tax havens. They're seeing their families sporadically. The children are either in boarding school or their mother's stayed and has to travel back and forth. It's to do with the days that they can stay. And I think, look, on one side, that's a very privileged situation to be in, let's be honest. Not many people are able to do that. And they're stuck here and they're having to make do with what they have. So we are talking about a very small member of part of society, 0.00%, but that is the reality of who lives in central London. I have a very close friend who's literally upped her entire family, relocated schools in the middle of exams overnight, and they've taken off to Dubai. Another family member who's gone, not family member, very good friend, who's gone to Abu Dhabi as well. So I think if you're able to pivot, they're really looking at ways that they can make their pennies stretch. And listen, they're offering great deals in the Middle East. It's like the happening place at the moment. I mean, I've never seen such, a vibrant city. The number of the schools, the restaurants. If you love the warm weather, like me, I mean, I love the Middle East. I mean, it really is a big change. A lot of people will not go. They're going for European countries. There's a lot being offered out there, especially I was reading an article the other day in Italy. I mean, it's like putting down a few pounds on a property and you can then pay it back over the next 10 years for a move to Italy. And why not when the taxes are a lot less?
So you are seeing that, and you are seeing families getting split up by that. I mean, do you think that people are moving really unwillingly?
Yes. I mean, my husband wants British, always British. He loves this country. I love this country. We live in the best city in the world. We'll do anything to stay, and make the best of it. And as my husband says, hunker down. It's back almost to the 30s, 40, back to my grandfather, back to the recession times that will come through. That's, I think, the mentality of a lot of people. Or they don't have a choice. They have to make the best of what they have. Look, I think as well is that, if you've got a choice to do it, perhaps you want to do it, but it's not something you willingly would do. People love their homes. They love their family. They've made their life, around their safe haven. And without wanting, some people don't have that adventurous spirit to go and pivot. I've moved to Palm Beach. I love traveling. But, my husband's very traditional. He loves England. And he's born and bred in Chelsea. We, in fact, live around the corner from where he grew up as a child, and I think that's our two different souls together. I'm Australian. I've lived all over the world. My parents lived in the Middle East. I've lived in Asia. I've worked in America. I've lived in London. And I grew up in Australia. I lived on an island in the middle of the South Pacific. I've spent my whole life moving, pivoting, and being in a lot of different cultures.
So it's an easier thing for you to do.
Very easy. All I would say is that if you are looking to buy, this is the time to buy. Really, in the market, you'd want to buy and stay if you can.
So you're a very positive person, and, you're always trying to look at, the brighter side of life.
Always the brighter side.
So many people are talking about London with a negative lens on at the moment. So give us some positivity. Why would you want to live in London? What's London offering? What's so great about being here?
We have to remember that this is the centre of the world. I mean, we live in the best city in the world. I mean, look where we're sitting. Behind me is Albert Bridge, an iconic piece that people will see immediately anchor that to London. There are so many things. And the wonderful thing about London, it's cross-cultural. I mean, you're Iranian, I'm Australian. We have so many friends in common from every different country of the world. I was at boarding school here. I had such an incredible, you're at boarding school here too, with family members of mine even. We, again, have that experience of our great school friends being from many different countries. So I think England is a boiling pot of all the best brought together, and it's small. So you really, really intermingle and mix. You've got the best foods. We lead in fashion. I mean, I was just at the opening of Carbon at the Rosewood. We've got one of the best restaurants in the world that's just open, and it was full. It's not slowing down. Let me tell you, it's not slowing down. And I think England will always be a lead in where fashion happens, where progress is being made, and where decisions for the future are happening, because that's that we've sat on the precipice of all the major outcomes in the world from all the time back. We went talking Roman times, but look at the tradition and look at what we have. The New World, where I'm from, Australia. I mean, these are young countries, 200 years. I mean, my house is older than my country.
I mean, actually, when you say that, and I think back to the opening and the closing ceremony of the Olympics, where they actually showcased everything that was British.
Oh, amazing.
And you were just like, wow, I didn't really realize it. And as you say, there's so much culture and diversity and art and fashion and so on. So do you see in the communities that you're mixing in, do you think that people are hoping that this is a temporary thing and it'll pass and everything, they'll all come back and they'll be with their families and they'll stay here? I mean, a lot of people who are listening will probably just say, well, just pay your tax and stay. But It's not that simple, because actually you've grown a wealth over decades for a reason, and then suddenly you can't rely on that anymore because it's been completely changed.
Yeah. From a traditional standpoint, not many of my old school British friends are making the decision to leave. I think what we have in London is way more international families that are British, maybe in here 20, 30 years, but have maybe come from somewhere, and they're thinking in their head, maybe I do go back to Australia. Maybe I do go back to Dubai. Maybe I do go back to Canada. Those kind of things. I think because they've got an anchor where they've connected to, or Cyprus or Greece or Italy. So there's already an anchor there. That's really, I'm seeing more of that happen within my circles. And it's also a support network with children. Childcare and things are a lot higher. And if they move back, they're like, well, I've got my mother or my sister or my aunt that can help out.
Yeah.
And if work is easily movable, like a lot of work is now, so, it's, what do you call them here, twats? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, and they're out. You can mobilise your work, you can take it with you. Then actually standard of living becomes far more important. And they're thinking, I've got a better standard of living, I have a support network, I'm going back home where I was, and I can still work.
It's interesting you should say that, because actually, somebody said to me recently, you're the only one left in London. I said, well, that's because I'm actually a Londoner. And there is sort of, there is potentially, people who've been here, as you say, maybe the last 10, 20 years, it was a little bit easier for them to go back to where they came from.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you are here and you are a Londoner, then it's just a matter of wait until the next phase.
Yeah. I think people who've perhaps been brought over, like, say, for instance, a lot of the bankers have been brought over, say, for America, the packages that they're brought in and put here. What I found in the time that I've lived in London and been married is 19 years, is a lot of them would love it so much they would do a deal to stay and then get their roots here and get citizenship and work out moving here. Whereas what I'm seeing is that they're like, we'll do our secondment and then we'll back. So those things. I mean, I know that, there's a big shift in Hong Kong. A lot of people moved to Dubai from Hong Kong a few years ago. I think COVID changed a lot around the world. I think that we'll just see that this trend will move, and then we'll probably all settle back down again. You look at what's happening, I think we've just got to bide our time. Even in our existence, Farnaz, as when, from teenagers, we've seen the cycle move. People are always very transient, but there are a lot of people that stay and come back.
Yeah. Now, your husband's British and you're rooted here, and you have no intention of leaving. But if you were to leave, which one of these destinations that everyone's talking about would you consider?
Mine would be a very selfish reason. It would be like to be as close to the blue water with a palm tree and white sand as I could get, with a spicy margarita and easy access to shopping when I need to go to New York, London or Dubai. So I actually love the UAE. I mean, what's happening in Abu Dhabi is insane, Saadiyat Island, but my husband's not, he's more traditional. But saying that, since he's met me,
Things have changed.
things have changed.
Spiced up.
I actually love the Bahamas. Like, New Providence is amazing, and I've got friends who've moved there. It's close enough to America. I love the culture. I love Dominican Republic. Look, I'm always up for a change, and if there's lots of sunshine, it always makes me happy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you mentioned COVID, and I think what COVID did is whoever was planning to do something, like when I finish working, I'm going to go to the Bahamas and retire there, just brought those plans forward.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And they said, well, COVID taught us that we can work from anywhere. Now they're bringing these taxes on, which means all my planning and my pension and everything I'd planned for the past 20, 30 years is now suddenly gone out the window because I've got other, things to consider. So they just brought those plans forward and left. I think that's what I've noticed.
I think if you've not got a situation with younger children in school, schooling changes everything because you've got a routine and exams are very important. Our children are similar ages, and it's getting to a point now where, my eldest has just gone to university in another country. I have one son here. Now, obviously, I'm doing, a TV show here and it's based here, and I don't have any intentions of moving at this point. But if life changed, why not? And I think a lot of people are thinking that. What's holding them here? Their children have moved on and maybe studying abroad or working abroad. They've got a base and they think, well, let's try something new. So I think, yes, I think travel has become easier, moving has become easier. So I think those options have become more accessible as well.
And are you seeing people getting affected by the 20% school fees? And yes?
Definitely. There's a lot of children that have had to leave. And, you think about education being the number one thing that personally, for me, then I had an amazing privileged upbringing, being able to go to private schools and our children as well. And I see it so much that parents would prefer to take on 3 jobs to have their child in a private school than not. And so you're already at your max. You're doing your 3 jobs to pay for those school fees, to get your child through, and suddenly, where do you go an extra 20%?
Yeah. I think the government missed the memo that we're actually all struggling paying those private fees.
100,000 children out of education, and all our local schools are full. There's wait lists. And, the reason is, especially if you've got learning difficulties, that's really why private schools, have been so influential in my life. Both of my children are dyslexic. And this is not saying that the state schools can't cope, but from the particular situation that my children were dealing with, they were able to offer a lot more attention, smaller classroom environments that have really helped my children get to where they are now.
Yeah.
And I think that is what a lot of parents are finding with the children who maybe have autism or ADHD or dyspraxia, that they just don't have the facilities or the numbers or the ability of teachers to give those children extra attention. Whereas in a private school education, you have, the privilege of smaller classes, maybe more teachers. So you've got, I would say good, maybe 50% of parents with children in private schools that are already at capacity doing everything to support their children and now not able. And where do their children go? And the only option really you have is bringing them home and homeschooling, because you can't earn any more money. It's not, where's the support going to come from? And they're going to get lost in the state system.
Right, I hadn't actually thought about that part of it. But also, education is one of our biggest exports.
That everyone comes. Now what?
So, for centuries.
Yeah. So interesting you say that. In fact, on the flip side of all of this is the amount, there are people moving here now with everything that's going on because of our education system. So I met an Australian family the other day that have moved here to put their children through the education system.
Yeah.
I've met another Indian family that moved here specifically to make sure their children were through this British system. So it's not like people are not coming to London. As I say, there's just a movement. There may be some leaving, but it's almost like, well, there are also people arriving, which is why I always on the cup half full. On the flip side, we as people still know around the world that we are the number one city and they want to be here. So we've got to really, the restaurants are full. And I'm thinking, how are all the restaurants full? but the restaurants seem to be full in Mayfair.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So business is happening. But obviously we are talking about a very small minority compared to the rest of the UK. And I think that's what we've got to remember, and we really need to know, yes, there is money turning in the, the hub of the UK, our capital cities, but we really need to think about what's happening within the counties and, support for them and how business is working for them as well.
Yeah. Well, it's been really good talking to you. And the one last thing I wanted to say before saying goodbye is, are you noticing that this current exodus is having an effect on other businesses that were focused on this group of people? So are you seeing that, I don't know, the hairdressers, beauticians, personal trainers, masseuses, I mean, these things, these people are actually now finding it hard to earn a living?
That is exactly what's happening, sadly. And I think it's the small businesses that are struggling a lot more. I mean, as I said, the businesses are booming in restaurants, but you're talking huge brands with international followings and international investment. But the local businesses I'm seeing, and I think the local spirited entrepreneurial spirit is what we need for a community to thrive. And that is what I'm seeing as struggling. And, you've got 50,000, I believe, within the beauty industry. And they're on their knees. And that makes my heart pang because, these are gifted essentials in our community. And, you want them to flourish and thrive. And so, yes, I think sadly the smaller entrepreneurial businesses that, as I say, bring a community together are struggling. That's why we need to be out on the streets supporting all our local shops, all our local businesses to keep it going. And I think that is one thing the UK, London especially, does well because there's like this village spirit.
On the subject of why London is so great, okay, as a Londoner, for our listeners who maybe don't know London as well as you do, tell us, what are your favourite things to do in London?
Oh my gosh, I love the green parks. Nothing makes me happier than going around Kensington Gardens and Hyde Park with Portia, our gorgeous retriever, on the way picking up a matcha latte, or as we did when we go for our walks, go and get a good cappuccino, a smoothie. I go and do class. Love the classes they run here, like hardcore gym classes, then having breakfast at Granger & Co., going up to Mayfair, to the private members club. Who doesn't love lunch at Oswald's or at 5 Harbour Street? You have the juxtaposition. I was just with my Mexican friend last night, going off to Soho to La Bottega Negra and getting a spicy margarita, catching a show last minute because there's a ticket sitting there and you have thought, why not? Making a last minute decision to, jump on the train and go down to Cornwall 4 hours and sitting on a beautiful beach. You have so much that you can do, which is so close. And, it's fun. Pop over to Brick Lane for an Indian. I mean, we have the best of the best in London.
Yeah, that's very true. I used to say to people, in my youth, and be like, "Oh, I don't like London." I'm like, "Oh, you're not very active." Like, "No, I don't like to do anything." I was like, "That's why you don't like London, because there's so much to do in London that you just got to get out there and get busy."
And my husband the other day said he was down in Richmond, and it was it was a tube strike, so he couldn't get a cab, so he jumped on a Lime bike. And the Lime bikes now, which I didn't know, is they will take you all the water paths. So he said, literally, I rode all the way back to Chelsea. It took him 15 minutes, and the Lime bike itself took him off track. He said, I've never seen that part of London. Those are the magical things that we have that don't cost much. Or free, in fact. I think it's free for the first half an hour on a Lime bike. How special to do that, or go riding in Hyde Park. All of these things that we have that we, maybe have forgot. We get into our little routine, and it just doesn't take much. And, there's some real surprises around the corner.
So you're a very positive force in London. And, that was one of the reasons that we wanted to speak to you today, to get a bit of positivity back into what's going on in London. And, it's not all doom and gloom. So apart from being the Real Housewives of London, how does Juliet keep busy?
How does Juliet find time to do anything? I think give a busy woman something to do and they can always get it done. Lots of things. I'm juggling lots of balls. I think the one thing that this show has done is given me my mojo back. I've been a wife and mother for 19 years. But as you know, as you knew me a long time ago, I was an actor and loved that side of work and singing and musical theatre and writing and producing. That merged through my life into production of events, into production and design. And I've always kept busy in adventure, and I've, always, done some, extreme...
Climbing Kilimanjaro.
Extreme sports, 100 kilometres across the desert. There's never a challenge too much for me. I think, I studied at Inchbald, and I did 1 year and 3 months, 2 children at school, managing 2 homes and working. But there's a will, there's a way. And suddenly, I qualified as an interior designer, and then I can use that prong. It's another bow to my arrow. It's something that you can work in, and it's facilitated more within my events. It's facilitated more in my design and my carpets because I've got that background. But I kind of feel like there's all these opportunities in London, and you can take it and you can mould it in any way that you want. So
Juliet is a multi-talented individual, is what you're saying.
Oh, do you know what? A bit of a hustler. You got to juggle. You just got to do it. Just go for it. Go for gold. That's what I say. Go for gold.
Go for gold. Tell us about the Housewives of London.
Oh, you'll have to watch it to find out, Farnaz.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for making time for us.
Thank you
I know
for
that
having
you've got
me.
a very busy day, so thank you. And if you have a story about how things are affecting your life, we'd really like to hear from you and just hear some real life stories about how these changes that the government is making is impacting family life within prime central London.
Thanks for tuning in to our latest episode of the London Property Podcast. Head over to our website where you can browse our exclusive network of top experts driving the market. As a member, you'll have direct access to our experts and their networks. Our award-winning content will help you choose the right professionals for your needs and make informed decisions about your investments. Personal recommendations are a powerful tool in connecting with trusted professionals. Let us introduce you to the right people to help you achieve your real estate goals. Contact us now to learn more about becoming a member and gaining access to these valuable resources, or joining our directory of experts.